Traditional West African folk music.
You giving nods of approval to the music?
Excellent. West Africa is made up of several countries, including Mali, Nigeria, Cameroon. Oh, I forgot my costume. Let me continue. Central African Republic, Congo, Gabon, Senegal, Guinea, Cape Verde, Gambia, and Liberia. According to Alice.org, West Africa is one of the most interesting places on Earth. One of the reasons for this is the huge diversity of cultures that exist. There are several reasons for this diversity, but in large part it comes down to the history of the countries. It is hard to describe the culture and the religion of West Africa because there have been so many influences on it. Over the years, a lot of people have called the area home, and they have had a huge influence on both the culture and the religion. In large, this is why the area has suffered through so many wars and other conflicts. All the different groups have had to move into one area. The most common group that you will find in West Africa are the Sub-Saharan Africans. They make up the bulk of the population, and they are the ones who have been there the longest. However, there are many different tribes that make up this group, and as a result, there are many different cultures and religions. While there has been some mixing, for the most part, the tribes all have different religions and cultures, which has made it hard for them to live together. In addition, many of the people in this group have been affected by colonial influences. Over the years, the Europeans have brought their own culture and religion to the area as the colonized Africa. Again, there are big differences in the way this was done, although at least in this case, the religions were fairly similar. One of the goals of colonization was to introduce Christianity to the Africans. In large part, West Africa was colonized by the French, who tried to introduce Catholicism as well as their own culture. Other countries in the region were colonized by the British or Portuguese. These have completely different cultures. The differences are not just the result of the different cultures of the European nations, but also because of the different ways in which they colonized them. The British were much more forceful than the French. The West African nations have also experienced a large influence from Muslims coming from North Africa. In the early years, this was just a trading arrangement, but over time they settled in the region as well. This has brought an additional religion and culture that has affected these countries. In general, the farther north you go in West Africa, the larger the Muslim presence will be. In some cases, they will represent nearly half the population. There are some exceptions, however, as the French were more accepting of the Muslims in their colonies than the other European nations, so the former French colonies tend to have a larger Muslim influence. This is what makes the music so different, is it pulls from all these different cultures. They also have a very deep roots to their long-time traditions and have a distinctive set of sounds. Let's play another part. This is called the Muso Jorama. This part is played with a stringed instrument, and
I believe is actually called the kora.
the kora, and they have a type of drum and also some brass instruments. You may not be able to hear it in the video, but there's a very light, the brass sounds in the background. You can barely hear them.
West African music is characterized by complex rhythmic structures and pentatonic melodic materials. The music of West Africa varies by tribe and region, but has similar rhythmic and melodic characteristics. Drums and rhythms are central in West African music. The music of West Africa commonly relies on rhythmic figures called polyrhythms, or rhythmic structures that are composed of multiple and sometimes opposing rhythmic patterns overlaid and played at the same time. Polyrhythms are often played by multiple drummers playing separate parts that combine to create the larger rhythmic texture. West African drumming and rhythms are often closely linked to dancing and ceremony. West African melodies are sung and played on instruments, and are often built on pentatonic scale materials. The pentatonic scale has 5 steps, as opposed to the Western tempered scale. In fact, many West African scales, including those that are not pentatonic, precede the blues scale of African American music. Call and response patterns are common, with the ensemble leader and religious authority calling out or singing a main phrase, followed by a group with a response. Traditional music from West Africa does not use either harmony or multiple melodies at the same time, like Western music, but instead builds complexity in its rhythms. Music has traditionally played an important role in African culture. It is essential in representing the African heritage, and its importance can be seen in many aspects of the culture. Unlike many cultures today, ancient African cultures encompassed music into their everyday lives. Dance, storytelling, and religious practices are all grounded on the music of the culture. Music is especially vital in African dance, so much so that in many African cultures, there are no 2 words in the language used to distinguish between the two. Essentially, when one uses the term music in reference to African culture, it should include the idea of dance. And unlike many Western civilizations, in the African culture, music and dance means so much more than something done just to have a good time. It has a much greater purpose. For many cultures, a dance is commonly between 2 people. In the African culture, a dance is usually done by a community or group and for a specific purpose. The idea of utilitarianism suggests that the value of a thing depends on its use, and not its beauty. In many ways, African music is a utilitarian function used in vital aspects of life, such as a child's naming ceremony, initiation rites, agricultural activities, national ceremonies, war times, religious ceremonies, and ceremonies for the dead.
Let's play another part. This is called the Cheeto with a D instead of a T. Cheeto. Completely serious. In this part, he's using the same stringed instrument and the same brass instruments, but instead of the drum, he has like a small tambourine type thing. And this part has vocals. Actually, that's the picture, isn't it? Of that thing.
Oh yeah.
What's it called?
That one is called a shekere.
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 It's got a weird spelling.
Good enough. Alright. Instruments.
Okay. This
Get your prop.
first instrument. Hey, buddy. There are many types of different instruments that can be found in West Africa. Though drums are often thought as the defining element when it comes to instruments, they are not everything. Ideophones, which literally translate into self-sounding instruments, are the most present. These include the shakers like the shekre, I think that's how you spell it.
Other rattles.
Bells. Oh, no, that one comes later.
Oh, sorry.
Shekre. Bells like the ganku. Finger pianos. And xylophones like the large bala. Drums are found in many different instruments. They're different shapes and sizes and construction, even within the single culture. Some drums are single-headed, like the djembe, while others have two heads and are held under the arm in the lap, like the bata. Double-headed tension drums, called the dando, can be found in Ghana and Nigeria, and are lined with rope so that the player can squeeze and change the pitch. In general, drums are played with sticks, with the hands, or both. Areophones, or wind instruments, are found throughout West Africa. Animal horns and tusks, very similar to these, are often used to make these instruments. And they are often used to create side-blown trumpets, or things very similar to the trumpet. While in-blown flutes are typically made from bamboo or carved wood. Double-reeded wind instruments found in the Savannah Belt, and show evidence that there may be musical influence from the Arab peoples. Condiphone or string instruments are also widespread throughout West Africa. One-string-bowed fiddles are often played by solo and accompany the song. Lutes, like the goni of the mandolay, often play in ensembles with the bala. The kora, which you have heard already in our music, is a hybrid instrument that combines the lute and a harp, although is more in the shape of a guitar. The kora is built with a large gourd body and a long neck made from wood. Up to 21 strings can be extended on this instrument in 2 separate rows of the body. And here we have a traditional West African rattle. Shake, shake, shake.
Made out of livestock bone, turtle, and something inside the rattle. You want to play another part of music?
Yeah,
Yes,
more music.
Good stuff, good stuff.
Hold on, let me go to the next song. Stop rattling. And the kora can be heard again here. And the brass and a type of cymbal type
Instrument.
Here we have a voice part.
A vocal. Also known as vocals, voice parts. Alright.
Now about this music.
Are we gonna move this up to there?
Yeah, let's move it.
Move it up to there.
Sorry, buddy. I'm getting the fur all off-centered.
He's shedding.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a jackal over there. A West African jackal.
Yes.
And that's a warthog up on the wall.
Yeah.
Yes.
What were you gonna say, brother?
You must pass the rattle to speak.
Okay.
What I do not like about the West African music is that it does not have much direction, unlike a lot of the other classical music that we have studied in our music appreciation class.
What part do you like?
I do like the soul that can be felt in the music. Even when you watch the videos, you can see how into the music the musicians get.
I'm glad you just learned to speak English.
It
What
was a long journey from Africa.
I don't like about the West African music is it does not give you that feeling like music that you love to listen to, makes your skin tingle. I don't get that on the West African music. It just doesn't vamp me up. It doesn't get me going. It's not my type of music. There's not much suspense to it. It's the same beat the whole time, and it doesn't really change. Once the song starts, there's nothing new to it. What I do like is the distinct sound, like we talked about, from that culture. The certain instruments. They constantly have those cymbals going, like the brass just kind of lightly tingling together. I really like that. I like that a lot. On to you, brother.
Okay. I'm all for the slaughtering of animals. Do it as you please, but don't slaughter an animal purely for a musical instrument. Unless you're going to eat it, then it's completely okay. But, yeah, that's pretty much all I got about what I don't like. And, the fact that the beat just drags on for like 5 minutes. They gotta switch it up. They're quite behind technologically and musically. But what I do like about it is that the West African people really can get into it, man. I mean, they feel it. They get into their music.
They do feel it.
And it's something that has been a part of their culture for such a long time that it's an insanely big part to them. So they know how to live, and they incorporate that throughout their music, and it's quite admirable. I think these guys are getting a little close. So,
And that is the close of our Western African folk music presentation.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
kisses.